Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. So we're just here for another episode of the junk journal that we're making. So by my checking just before I came on, we've got 3 main kind of pages left to do. By that I mean the kind of decorative pages. So we've got the kind of reverse sides of this one here, and then we've got the inside of the back cover left to do. And then we obviously do have our plainish kind of pages also to slot in. So, let's try and crack on rather than kind of waffle on really. So if you recall, I had this kind of brochure here from the Goodwood Revival, and I was hoping on keeping it as a kind of booklet. However, I can't kind of work out where that would be. So what I'm going to do is just cut this down and just work with it as the one side as a kind of long, pocket down on a page, I think. Because for me, I just couldn't kind of see it kind of working really. So, and obviously I had this birthday card. Let me move some of these bits out of the way. Had this birthday card, which we haven't used yet, but I absolutely adore the gorgeous image here on the front. So I was wondering whether we could kind of tear down, although I do really like the car. For me, the car's not the main beauty. Actually, for me, the main beauty is this building. It just looks beautiful. But what I thought we'd do, if we kind of tear down kind of along here, like that, we'll probably snip this off or possibly cover that top bit up so as we get rid of those balloons, because I'm not so keen on the colours of those either. So I'm just going to move this out of the way for the moment. And then what I thought was, I'm just dusting off the excess onto the floor there. What I thought was we could somehow kind of have this running along here. So that's kind of my plan. So if we kind of just have a look and see how we'd like this. So probably the best thing to do is decorate the back cover up a little bit. Just going to tidy it up slightly. I mean, again, it doesn't have to be perfect. It's part of a junk journal. It really doesn't have to be kind of too perfect. Just going to take a piece of that catalogue to kind of use as a bit of scrap. So we're just going to distress ink around this. Now I'm going to really keep my eye on the camera because although I'm uploading these on separate days, I've done this kind of quite soon after my last one. So I haven't uploaded my last one. So therefore it's still taking up space on my iPad. So I'm a little bit paranoid obviously now that it's going to stop recording having run out of space. And as I've mentioned before, it doesn't then notify you very unhelpfully. It just stops recording. So I would be here waffling on not knowing it's actually stopped. So I just need to be aware of that and kind of check it every so often. But obviously we have to kind of do these things sometimes just in the way that we can. So for me, I thought it's probably less time consuming to actually come and try and do it straight after the last one whilst I've still got my stuff all out, than kind of tidy up my son's desk and then come back, because that in itself kind of takes up quite a bit of time. So there we go. So we're just doing kind of similarly to what we did on the front inside cover, which, was in the last episode. So check it's still recording, still in frame. Yep. Right. So like that, again, going with the same theme, I'm just going to run the stamp around. And again, I'm going to actually use kind of more of this stamp on this page. So kind of more taking this whole section hope that my ink pad's playing games now, or playing their game. So I'm just going to run that down like that. Ah, it's barely come out at all. So after all that, so I'll just have to do it again. Well, it's a bit better. Let's pop a bit more there. And then we'll just pop a little bit down here in the corner. And then just a bit going across there. Okay, we won't worry too much about this side because obviously, you know, if we're going to use this pocket, that will be going down that side. So there we go. Okay. So what we could do is kind of ink around this also in pink, so it kind of ties it in to that page. Oops. Looks pretty. Oh, I mean, to me that just looks pretty already. You know, I think as we've kind of talked about before, when you've got a lovely image, they just, you know, it's easy to kind of make it look lovely, isn't it? Now this Vintage Emporium, I really wanted to use this piece because it just looks so beautiful. I really love it. However, for me, it's just not really working. It's kind of the wrong colour. You know, so maybe we're not able to use this at all anywhere in the journal, which I will be a bit sad about, but you know, I'm not sure whether we're going to manage to make that work, so I'll just pop that to one side. Now I've still got this clock that obviously I've kind of bought in and bought in and bought in so many times now, but I'm wondering if maybe it might work on this page somewhere. So, you know, I mean, it might be it's too big. Maybe that's kind of what the issue has been. But maybe it looks quite pretty there. So for me, what's not working is obviously up here. I don't really like this. So I might just tear off that top bit. So as we kind of get rid of those orangey buttons, that looks better. And then I might just ink around the edge of this. Right, very luckily I spotted that it did stop recording. It had run out of space. So I was able to delete another video that I had done another day, and I have uploaded it to YouTube but just not launched it yet. So I was able to get rid of that, and also I had noticed that when I was obviously trying to work out how to split the videos or join the videos, I had downloaded a couple of like film editing apps. One of them was huge. It was about 7 gigs, so that has gone now. You know, I've removed that now. So hopefully that will kind of give me a little bit more space. I thought it was a bit strange that I kept running out of space suddenly, so hopefully that's kind of due to that. And hopefully we've eliminated that now. So obviously back to this page. So just really now play around, kind of do the nice bits. So I'm going to glue this clock down. Yay, finally getting to use it. So I did really want to use it, and for me it just hadn't looked right anywhere else, but I do really like it on here. So just going to kind of glue this down here to the side. Oops. Kind of roughly there. I didn't want it kind of dead central, but kind of more down slightly. So pop it there. Okay. I'm pressing it quite hard because obviously we have backed it onto some card. So I just want to make sure it's kind of well and truly stuck properly. Check them in frame. Okay. Right, hopefully I won't have to be so paranoid about the space issue now, so that's one good thing at least. Now this piece here, what we could do is kind of make it a little double pocket and kind of just glue it like that. However, we do want to cover up this car, so I'm just going to cut out a couple of tickets or a ticket. Again, that glare from the spotlight. I know I just always say the same things, but I say the same things because just in case anyone's tuning in for the first time and they haven't been following along with the rest of the series, they might wonder why I kind of suddenly, you know, go out of frame and do things off screen. So I know I am being boring. I was going to say I'm not being boring, but I'm aware I am being. But that's the reason why, is just so that anyone joining for the first time is slightly aware of, you know, why I'm doing certain things. So I have got this ribbon, which we've not used this for a few pages, so I might have to include that somewhere. So if I just cut this little postcard, stamped image of the postmark, just cut that like that. Just pop those bits out of the way. Could have that like that. And I wonder whether we could have this running right the way down kind of the side, whether we've got enough ribbon left. That might be quite nice, mightn't it? Just checking whether we want any of this fabric anywhere. So maybe we'll have something like that. I just move this out of the way. So obviously I don't want to waste this fabric, so I'm just going to cut kind of a section round like that. And then I'm just going to glue this down. Onto the page. Not going to take it right to the edge because it's quite nice to have a little bit of movement around the edges. So we'll just pop that down like that. I did talk in a previous episode that I was quite enjoying watching something called Homecoming. It was an Amazon Prime series, if you recall. Well, I'm a bit disappointed really, because the same day that I said that, I then was, you know, again settled down to watch it for the evening, only to find that it then finished. It was literally, I think it was 5 episodes long, and it came to quite an abrupt finish. For me, I would have liked to have seen more. I think they could have kind of done more with it. It was really good, it was really enjoyable, but for me, I just felt it came to a bit of a kind of fast ending. I sometimes think that series, you know, those series on TV, they kind of do that sometimes, don't they, where, you know, you're kind of in the thick of it and then suddenly they just end. These are just some of those stamped images onto that envelope page. So I'm just seeing whether we might prefer the kind of buff kind of coloured stamped pieces rather than the pink. Yeah, so it was really good, and you know, would probably still recommend it because what was there was very, you know, very gripping and really good. I think for me, I just thought they could have done, you know, gone further with it and kind of expanded it. So I was a little bit disappointed when it ended, because it ended quite quickly and it was all kind of sewn up quite quickly, and I thought, you know, they could have actually strung that out for a bit longer. But that's just my opinion, to be honest, you know. But it was still very good. Okay, just got this one here, The Definition of Love. Just trying to tear around this rather than cut this one. It's just a stamped piece onto the brown paper bag there. So we could have that there, and then could kind of break it up with a ticket like that. That looks a bit better, I think. So we could just kind of ink around that. Actually, we'll just we'll do it with the pink actual kind of distress ink. Like that. Move that out of the way. Come back. So hopefully, you know, you guys have been making some junk journals as well. Sorry, just dropped the lid of the glue. Yeah, so hopefully yours are kind of coming along brilliantly, and that you've been having fun, you know, with this series. Kind of, as I've said before, I mean, this has been a challenge for me. Definitely taking me out my comfort zone, something I've definitely kind of, as far as I'm aware, not done before. Kind of nice to have a challenge, you know, quite fun to have a challenge, isn't it? And do something that is so very different, because sometimes, you know, it's easy to kind of do the same old stuff. So, you know, that's quite nice to kind of do something really different. And I have really enjoyed it. I mean, touch wood, I do really like kind of how the journal's coming out. So, you know, hopefully you guys kind of like it as well. Now I'm going to stick this on with the hot glue, because this is obviously, you know, very stiff birthday card. So I will just kind of glue that down with the hot glue. I'm going to pop it over slightly, so as I've got a bit more of an edge down here. So we'll just glue that down like that. There we go. And then I think I'm just going to staple on the ribbon. Now, just before I do staple on the ribbon, I just want to double check that it's definitely the ribbon that I want and not fabric or kind of net or anything like that. Let's see. Right, I have actually got a whole triangle left. I mean, obviously I have got more bunting. It's just that I had cut off one or two of each kind of triangles just to use for this project, and just coffee dyed a certain amount, you know, rather than the whole thing of bunting. So, you know, should I need more, I have got more. So it's not a problem. I just haven't obviously got it here with me. Obviously I have got more other fabrics, you know, the other triangles. I just meant I haven't got more of this one. This is, I think, my last one of this. But yeah, if we need more, I can easily kind of cut another triangle off of that bunting and coffee dye it, and obviously use some more. Come on. I've cut it so close to the seam, it's not really cut it at all. There we go. Okay. So then I'm just going to kind of just distress this bit of fabric a little bit more. Just so it's really vintage. really vintage looking. Not obviously so it's really vintage, because, you know, obviously we're not doing that here. The problem is I didn't distress this one, so let me just go around that a little bit. Okay, that's a bit better. Otherwise that obviously looked different colour then. Maybe I quite like that instead of the ribbon. I do like the ribbon. What does everyone else think? This again where I kind of wish that I was live and I could actually ask people's opinion. Probably looks more vintage with the fabric, if I'm truthful, than it does with the ribbon, but the ribbon is rather nice. Oh, decisions. Obviously I haven't got enough here. I would have to cut more, you know, to ruffle this down the side. And that's absolutely fine. I've got that little flower that we made last time. Right, I'm going to go with the fabric. So I'm just going to start stapling this on. And again, I mean, as I've said in kind of all the previous episodes when I've done this, obviously you could use your sewing machine. I haven't got my sewing machine here with me. But having said that, there's something about the stapling that I just think looks really great on this journal, because it's, you know, a journal made from junk. It just seems to go perfectly with the stapled kind of effect. So I'm almost glad that I actually haven't got my sewing machine, because I think maybe that wouldn't be quite right for this journal. It's a bit tricky because I sew them coming further down here. It's kind of tricky to hold because you know, the piece is a bit wide for me to get my hand kind of around it. There we go. Oh, come on. So there we go. And we'll just cut some more. Distress that one as well. Just so as it looks more in keeping. What I might do is do it that way round, because then those two triangle pieces are kind of meeting, which kind of makes it a slightly more seamless join. Not that it has to be a seamless join, obviously, but it's very hard to reach there. Come on, come on. This is just getting very tricky to hold now. So, right, that's a bit better. Now we're kind of nearing the bottom. I can obviously grab it from the bottom. So that makes life a bit easier. Last bit. There we go. Ah, gorgeous. So I love that. That to me just looks really, really, really pretty. So all I'm going to do is obviously glue that down now onto the page. So I'm hoping that my glue is going to stick really well. Obviously this is my new batch of glue. So it is quite early days to know how well this glue is actually working, how kind of effective it is. But I'm just putting my trust in it and hoping that it is pretty good. So I'm just going to stick that like that. There we go. Oh, I love that page. Love that page. I really wanted to use that card. I know we've only used a small bit, but I just really like that. So yeah, really pleased with that. And that page came together very, very quickly, which is awesome, obviously. So there we go. Now, I haven't decided yet what to do with the back, whether we're going to go with the pink like we did for the cover to kind of marry it together, or whether we will kind of just distress ink the original book. I'm not sure yet. So I'll have a think about that probably between now and the next episode. So I'm just going to move that to kind of one side, and we'll get on with another page because I think we're only up to 12 minutes. And I'm not sure how much we'd filmed before the camera went off. So the final two kind of pages before we go on to kind of filling it with the blank pages, if you see what I mean, the journaling pages. These are the decorative pages, then we've got obviously the journaling pages. I had forgotten, but I'd done this little pockets here, you know, from some more of that Goodwood Revival booklet. So I thought we could use that on this buff coloured one. And we've got this lovely birthday card again with this gorgeous cupcake. And actually there's one on the back as well, which, you know, it's a bonus one. So I'm just going to kind of tear it in half quickly, so as we've got it separated to use. Now, I'm not quite sure how brilliant this is going to look when I've cut this out. So that's my only kind of reservation with cutting this, is because, you know, it may lose the effect of what it is because it's not really outlined itself, if you see what I mean. So I'm going to cut it out of frame where I've got the best possible chance, obviously without the glare so much of my scissors. Obviously the glare is still there a little bit, but not quite as bad as if I'm actually in the full kind of glare of the light. I really pray that this still looks like a cupcake. Does everyone know kind of what I mean? You know, when you kind of cut round things and then they kind of lose their form. Or perhaps that's just my shoddy cutting, I'm not sure. But they definitely sometimes can lose their kind of form of what they actually were meant to be. So I hope to goodness that this doesn't, because this was such a lovely image, and you know, I'd really like to use it if at all possible. So let's really keep our fingers crossed that that doesn't happen here. Yay! I think it still looks like a cupcake, so hopefully you guys agree. So we've got this. Now obviously we've got this big tag hanging off of this cake. So it's up to us kind of how we deal with that, whether we cut it off completely and then aim to cover it up. Probably that's my preference. You know, I think that's kind of the easier thing to do. I'm not really loving the birthday wishes kind of sentiment. So if I just kind of try and cut kind of roughly what I think would have been the shape, so like that. And then that's kind of leaving that less bulky to have kind of on the page. Now I was leaning towards putting it on this page, purely because this I thought would be better on that one. But just before we commit, I just want to kind of check, you know, that we're kind of putting it on the right page. So I'm going to distress ink this, so as it looks a bit of a better colour match to the rest of the journal. So that's kind of that. And then what I'm going to do actually, just whilst we're still here, I'm going to decorate this page, because then we can kind of definitely decide which page we want it on. So I'm going to use this gorgeous, gorgeous stamp again. I'm just going to re-stamp it with the pink to make sure it's coming out okay, because I had used this in my Olive Garden journal in green and I don't want it stamping in green on here. So this is a very good stamp, if you know what I mean, and it picks up the ink really well. So I'm sure that that green has gone, but just in case it hadn't, I just wanted to kind of make sure that it had, if that makes sense. So we've got that, and then we'll just use this one again that we've obviously been using kind of left, right and centre on this journal. Just going to check that this is stamping really well, because it's not been quite so bright in the last couple of times that we've used it, because this ink pad is getting quite dry. You know, not necessarily with every single stamp it's used with, but this is a very dry stamp, if that makes sense. So I just want to kind of you know, check that it was kind of working. So hopefully I'm going to get through this journal just before the ink finally gives up on me completely. And then what we're going to do, we will just ink around this a little bit with some pink, just to kind of lift the buff colour a little bit. Like that. Because then hopefully we can kind of decide which to have on which page. Oh, I love that cake on that buff colour now. It just looks really gorgeous, but let me just double check. Yeah, weirdly enough, complete U-turn now that we've done that. Yeah, I really love that cake on there. So hopefully you guys kind of, well, you might not share quite my excitement, but hopefully you kind of share something in that was making me feel so thrilled with how it looked on here. So again, we can just kind of see whether we want this kind of backed with anything. Now, something we haven't used, obviously, actually since the very early pages, is the little note papers. So I'm just going to pull a couple of those in just in case we wanted any of these kind of towards the back. And that looks quite pretty, doesn't it? So maybe we'll kind of have it something like that. And then, where did I put that flower? If we had the kind of flower there, and then we could just have a kind of little bit of a banner running down there. That might be quite nice for this page. So I'm just going to kind of glue this on. Like that, and just tuck that there. Oops. Obviously the page it's now gluing onto is quite lumpy behind, so you know, I'm just a bit aware of that, hence trying to kind of really stick it down like that. If we have it like this, just see whether we might need any more of this net. Don't think, although you see, as soon as I move it, I then think, oh, actually it did look really nice kind of up there. Now the other thing we haven't obviously used for a few episodes is we haven't used this pink lace trim. Actually, let's glue these little page hole reinforcers in whilst we think of it. So we've got that one. And actually it's perfect because these blue just pick up that blue on that flower really nicely. So I think it's a good call to have it on this page. Like that. Okay. So now we just need to decide kind of how to have this, you know, backed on here. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to glue down this bit of net onto the cupcake here in the corner. Like that. I'll just glue it here as well. Just balance something on there, not balance, but you know, weigh it down with something. Just pop that to one side, oops, like that. Now, what I was thinking, so if I just snip this so it's got that little decorative kind of end to the ribbon, and then what we'll do, I just put a little bit of glue here and we fold it over, press it down and we fold it up, so like that, press it down, and then a bit more kind of up here, that's it, press it down, and then a bit more, and fold it back up again, like that. Just going to see kind of where that takes it to on the page. So it's not very long, so probably want at least one more. So, I mean, these are kind of a ruffle, but they're obviously a completely different kind of ruffle. They're a bit more like a kind of banner type arrangement going on. I think they're pretty cute to use. And just something a little bit different, but that do generally look really, really cute. So I'm just checking I'm in frame and the time is still running. Okay, so take the book off the cupcake and bring the cake back. So if we were to have that there, and actually I'm wondering whether we could make a kind of fabric bow, you know, like we made the bow with the Naked Bar wrapper. So obviously when we talked about them, I hadn't ever made them with a Naked Bar wrapper obviously before, but I have made them with fabric before, and you know, touch wood, they do normally work quite well. So let me just get another piece of this fabric, which weirdly enough I think this is the only fabric we've not used. We might have used it somewhere, but I can't remember now where we've used it. So just cut a piece here like that, and all we want to do is kind of ruffle it in at the bottom, so exactly as we did with the Naked Bar wrapper. So we're just kind of folding it in. Obviously this is going to burn your fingers a bit, I don't really mind sometimes. Well, I mean, obviously I do mind when it really hurts, but you know, this kind of, it's not too bad. Okay. So we've got that one, because I'm wondering if we could kind of have a little bow here instead of the flower. And then I just do it along the bottom of this one. Might be that these are not really the same size, these two pieces. There we go. Let's have a look. And I don't think they're going to quite cover that up, so that's a bit of a shame. Let me just have a look and see where they're kind of placing them. I'm really struggling with threads of hot glue, which is just everywhere for some reason. It's literally all over me. Sometimes worse than others, isn't it? So let me think what else we could do under there to kind of overcome that a little bit, because I think that does look really quite cute. Just going to swap these around because I noticed that that one is slightly bigger. So we could have it like that, which looks quite cute, doesn't it? Or do we prefer the flower? Well, I guess we could have the flower and the bow. I'll just see if I've got some more cupcakes. Yeah, there's one laying right there. Not the right colour, admittedly. It's not the right colour. Let me just see whether I have any more laying around. I don't think I do. Still got those little cherries that we never used from before. They don't look quite right, you know, wherever I put them, particularly as I was trying to avoid kind of, you know, using a bulb pin or anything, because I was deeming that as kind of cheating. So yeah, I'm not quite sure now, you know, what we'll kind of do, whether we'll be able to use those. Probably not now. Just rummaging through my pile to see if I can find those other cupcakes. I know that I have got some left, but now I can't find them, of course. So there's one. What colour is that? Oh, even worse. It's lime green. Lime green. Oh, also found this little scrap of ribbon. Literally found that in my daughter's bedroom. So we could have that somewhere. In fact, because there's not much there, just wonder whether we could do just a kind of knotted centre somewhere. Just I saw it laying in her bedroom. She has all sorts of odd bits and bobs she just picks up from all over the place. And I thought, oh, that colour-wise would be good for our journal. So, or maybe we could have it up here. Now I'm still debating whether or not we need a bit more of the net down here. So that might kind of be what's not quite kind of doing it for me. Is the fact that we haven't got the other piece of net there. Sorry, I know this is like very annoying now. Right, I'm just going to go for this and stick this on before I'm here all day kind of debating and chopping and changing my mind. So just want to kind of crack on really and not waste everybody's time endlessly. So I'm just going to glue that down. There we go. And then if we have this piece up here, this kind of ribbon piece up there, just going to check that we wouldn't prefer to have lace. No, definitely not. So I'm just going to glue this down. Just kind of running down the edge of the page, so we'll just cut that top bit off a little bit shorter. A little bit more. There we go. Let me just check the camera situation. Okay. Just see whether I can find a button that we can put in the middle of the flower there. Just really just looking for a kind of flattish button that would kind of sit neatly in between there. There don't appear to be many pink kind of buttons in here, which is a bit of a shame. Sorry, again, I know this is probably not very exciting to be watching, but, you know, sometimes, you know, you want to get it right, don't you? So, you know, I'd rather spend a little bit of time kind of trying to find a good button than kind of feel so embarrassed, you know, at my kind of taking forever that I end up with the wrong button. If that makes sense. Oh, come on, come on, come on. No, right. So, oh, I just spotted that little cupcake that was kind of loitering there. Can't get that to balance on there to actually see how it looks. So we could have it like that. Just wondering whether we could actually use a kind of more like a ticket hanging off of here instead of the flower. Ooh, if we could have the flower up here. Sorry, not the flower, the bow. Oh, I quite like that. Still not quite 100% with the flower kind of arrangement down there. So let's just have a quick look. Got a kind of brown ticket here, so let's just try one of those. Again, I'm just going out of camera just so that I can try and cut it out, you know, without the glare of the lamp. Okay. Come on. I wonder if we could kind of have it how like that. I quite like the bow up there, so I think we'll go for that. So let's just pop the bow on. Because I think that looks really sweet. Up there. And what we'll do is just pop that button in the middle. Like that. There we go. And then I just need to decide kind of for down here, the final kind of arrangement of bits down here, whether we want that flower. I'm not 100% sure whether we do, in all honesty, but I'm not sure what to have instead. I thought I had stamped more little items, to be honest, but now I'm looking for them, I can't seem to actually find them anywhere, which just is always the way, isn't it? So you know, again, I'm just conscious of taking up loads of time, so I don't want to kind of do that so much. So I might just quickly cut out, I might just cut out this round stamped image. This will probably look completely wrong, but it's kind of worth trying, isn't it? I don't mind that. Let me just stand up and see kind of how it looks from a bit more of a distance. Oh, I quite like it like that, actually. So I'm going to go for that. And I'm going to stick this down. I know this is really random because this is just literally envelope page, but I'm going to stick it down with the hot glue only because it's sticking onto that cupcake, which obviously has quite a sheeny surface. So I wanted to make sure that it's going to stick down, you know, very well, very quickly. And then we just stick on our flower there. Let's put another blue stick in. And then did we want the ticket there as well? I'll just then pop the ticket down there as well, like that. And then we just need to pop something in the middle of the flower. Did have these blingy items that I kind of, I think, shown at the beginning of this series. I can't remember whether we actually did end up using one of these or not, but we could try one of these and see how it looks. Might be too blingy. I quite like it, actually. It looks quite pretty. Or we might prefer to have a button. Maybe just a bit more subtle, kind of, with the button, which maybe is kind of better. Having a look now through the screen, because maybe that will give a bit of a different perspective. Right, that's it with the button. That's it with the bling. I quite like it either way. I think I'm leaning towards the... Oh, decisions. I mean, how many times can you just chop and change things and kind of be debating? Right, I'm going to go with the bling. I'm just going to go for it. And I'm going to glue in the center here because this bling is very thin. So I fear that if I glue directly to that, I may well burn my fingers. So I've glued it straight into the center there. So that's another page done. Right, I'm having a look now at the film. We're now up to, I think, 50 minutes. So that will probably have to do, because obviously I'm aware that I've got that other little piece that needs to be attached to here. And then hopefully we're kind of down to our last page, and then those little, you know, filler pages. So, you know, and then hopefully, you know, we may or may not decorate the back of the journal, but I'm sure we'll do something with it, even if it's just a bit of stamping and distressing. You know, we'll do something, and then hopefully the journal will be done and we can do a final flip through, not a flip flop, a flip through. So I hope that you've kind of enjoyed today's episode, and yeah, I will see you next time. Thanks very much for watching. Bye.